welcome to Recollections May Vary, a royal recap. I'm Kinsey Schofield here with Kevin O'Sullivan. You watch us together on The Political Asylum with Kevin O'Sullivan. Double the trouble, double the fun. Kevin, big Thomas Markle Jr. exclusive. Do you think he's on Meghan's jam distribution list, Kev?
I think he's very much not on the jam distribution list, and he's not on his sister's Christmas card list. I mean, it's not quite the headline, if you want to be strictly accurate, but kind of. You could frame this interview, Why I Hate My Sister by Thomas Markle. I mean, he didn't quite say that, but he said almost as much. He really does not like Meghan. He was with his father, Thomas Markle Sr., in Rosarita in Mexico, as we spoke on Talk last night. And I'll tell you what, I've never spoken to him before, but you get a feeling about people. And I thought he was a very likeable and open guy. So trust me, if I have to choose between Meghan and the Markles or Thomas Markle, I'm on Team Thomas.
Let's discuss some highlights from your chat with Junior. I did a video recapping your conversation with Thomas Markle Jr., and I talked about how Senior says that Meghan was a little too spoiled growing up. And I must have flippantly argued that perhaps that's why she behaved the way that she behaves today. But in the comment section, I saw people disagreeing with me, saying that Meghan's behavior today is cruel and there's no justification for it. How do you respond to that?
Well, Thomas spoke about their childhood and how it was definitely factionalized. It clearly was a sort of family divided. I mean, a lot of people have complicated backgrounds, and the Markles clearly did. And what he said was that him and Samantha were definitely treated differently to Meghan, and that Thomas Markle Sr. Really, really doted on Meghan. And so Thomas Markle Sr. now apparently concedes or says that he thinks he's spoiled her too much. But in terms of the way Thomas thinks about Meghan now, what I was struck by, he said, let's get this right, he said that he thought that she was cruel, rude and fake. He really did not hold back about his sister at all. He said that that the family themselves, including Thomas Markle Sr., have now decided that even if Meghan said, come on, let's mend the bridges, let's be friends again, that they would reject that. They would reject that. They're not interested in her anymore because they no longer trust her. They think she's a schemer, a manipulator and a user. But I think that, Kinsey, the big news line that I thought came out of my talk with Thomas Markle Jr. was this. So, of course, the story is, the orthodox story is that Thomas Markle, was about to come to Britain to walk his daughter down the aisle back in 2018 when she had that fairy tale marriage with Harry in Windsor. And that, he had a heart attack and was too sick to travel and therefore did not go. There was also this backdrop of the fact that he'd rather unwisely done these pictures with a paparazzi photographer, a guy called Jeff Rayner, where he'd pretended he was getting fitted for his wedding suit and all that. And Meghan was very upset about that. So that was supposed to have derailed the plans for Thomas Markle Sr. to come to London. Well, what his son revealed to me last night, he said, no. He said, of course, those were factors. He said, but the decision was already made. And the reason that Thomas Markle Sr. made the decision not to come to Britain was that Meghan said to him, if you're going to walk me down the aisle, if you're going to be my dad at the wedding, you have to cut off Thomas Markle Jr. and Samantha, your half-sister. You have to cut them off. Never speak to them again. And Thomas Markle Sr., who I think is a nice dad, he just said, well, I'm not prepared to do that. I'm not prepared to do that. And so if you're requiring me to do that, I will not come to your wedding. So I thought that was a very...
I'm going to argue with you here because recollections may vary. I think that Thomas Markle Jr. might have some of Meghan Markle's memory issues because that did happen. Meghan did when Thomas Markle Jr. and Samantha started talking to the press, and they weren't necessarily positive. Meghan did call her father and say, I want you to side with me and not them. I want you to go, I want you to say that that's not true. And he said, I'm not going to be
Yeah, so
critical of
it's
my
true.
other children.
It stands up,
But
doesn't it?
but
Yeah.
he didn't go to the wedding because he had a heart attack. He was
Yeah,
in a
maybe,
hospital bed.
maybe.
I mean, TMZ talked to him in the
what I'm saying
hospital
to you,
bed.
what I'm saying was what I took from what Thomas Markle Jr. said to me was he'd already made that decision. He was never going to go to the wedding because she had issued him, Meghan issued her dad an impossible ultimatum. Choose between me and the other kids, and he refused to do that. Hence, the decision was already made. So interesting.
I think that's interesting. Yeah. So, is there anything else that you took away? I wondered, there was one line, there were a couple of things I didn't agree with that he said. I think he accuses Meghan of having a multiple personality disorder, which I thought, oh man,
No,
you
Matt,
need to
no, that's
come.
not. I agree with you there, Kinsey. She doesn't have a multiple personality disorder. She's only got one personality, and the problem with her personality is it's crap.
It's horrible.
I agree with you there. But he did say that she was an oddball and dislikable, a schemer, a manipulator, a social mountaineer. And I put it to him. I said, well, look, this is the way I see it. And I do see it like this. The reason she's cut off her family is she wants everyone to think that somehow or other she's from the higher echelons of society, top of the social ladder. Well, she's absolutely not. Nothing wrong with that. But I think she's always feared that if she starts saying, this is my dad, Thomas Markle, this is my brother, Tom, and this is my sister, Samantha, these are, in my view, these are good, decent, open Americans, no-nonsense Americans, but they don't fit in with Meghan's idea of what she wants to be. She wants to be the Queen of Montecito, almost American royalty. I come from the very, very top level of society. And she feels that her family would have destroyed that image, the image she's trying to protect to the royal family. Frankly, she's just a snob. She's just a snob, and I think she's embarrassed about her family, and I feel bad for them about that. As I say, I agree. Obviously in these family disputes, everyone has always got their corner to fight. They've got their story to tell, and a lot of stories clash. But I just got the feeling, I mean, I don't know Meghan. I've never met Meghan, but I've, followed her life as you have. And I can't say that I like her much. And I just thought Thomas Markle Jr. just seemed to me to be a regular guy, a decent guy, who's bemused. He's bemused by her behaviour. He can't understand why she has cut them off. But as I say...
But can I challenge you for 1 second? And I'm with you. I have sympathy for the Markles. I think Meghan should have invited all of them to the wedding, and we wouldn't have had these issues. However, Thomas Markle Jr. did go to jail for threatening his girlfriend with a gun. He was arrested for a DUI. You understand why Meghan would like to distance herself from some of that dysfunction. Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah, I mean, we've all had our problems, and I don't condone what you just said.
I was going to say, I'm a little embarrassed for peeing in Justin Bieber's pool, but I didn't do it.
Yeah, but you don't turn your back on your family, and I can tell Thomas Markle, like a lot of people, he's been in trouble. We've all had our moments. I think he's a decent guy. I'm a professional. I've interviewed a lot of people, and I think he's an okay guy, and he speaks for a family that has been wronged by a little social mountaineer who wants to be royalty, but all she really is a two-bit second-rate actress from Hollywood.
I mean, I really do sympathize with Samantha, because I feel like in their documentary, Meghan challenges Samantha as a mother. And I don't, if you're saying that you don't have this relationship with this woman, then you certainly should not have an opinion when it comes to how she is as a mother. And you certainly shouldn't be sharing it with the world, especially in this judgmental fashion. And so when it comes to Samantha challenging Meghan legally, I honestly think that that's fair, because I also think that I think that Samantha wants it on record that a lot of these things that were said were
Yeah.
not true, because they have negatively affected her life and her financial situation. Certain people are not going to want to work with her if they take what Meghan says as fact. What did you think when Thomas said that he felt like the palace should reach out to his father? My initial reaction to that was, Meghan is a Markle problem. Yeah, Meghan was barely in the royal family long enough for them to get to know her or take any sort of ownership for her. Why does he feel like the palace should be reaching out to his family?
Well, I actually do agree with him. I do think the palace owes Thomas Markle Sr. an apology. I do think that the king should talk to them, to that family, and try to unravel the arrant weirdness of the fact that Thomas Markle Sr. has never met his grandchildren. The king has barely ever seen them either. And the fact that he has never met his son-in-law, Prince Harry. I think that the palace do owe the Markles some kind of explanation. The palace acted almost as weirdly as Meghan did by cutting them off. One more thing that I thought was very, very interesting that Thomas Markle Jr. said to me was that he believes that that marriage will not last. And he said the reason is that he believes she is playing a character that is not real. She's trying to pretend to be somebody she isn't, as I just alluded to. She's trying to pretend she's some kind of upper class society queen or something. She's portraying a character, and Thomas thinks that Harry's probably reached the point where he's beginning to realise that the woman he married is not quite the woman that he thought she is, and that she's pretending. She's pretending to be someone else. And I think that's got a lot of credibility.
We love to talk about the royal family. I have so much fun with you when we talk about the royal family. We specifically have really gone in lately on Meghan Markle's American Riviera orchard. Here we are, September, nothing available for sale on her website, and the Daily Express reporting that she's had another US trademark rejection. Just hearing that headline alone, what's your first reaction?
Well, I think the American Riviera Orchard saga is extraordinary. I mean, she launched it amid much fanfare back in March. So what is that, 6 months or so? You know, she still has not sold a single item, and that is on the basis that there is not a single item for sale. Nothing has been put up for sale on this extraordinary lifestyle website. Now, we learn that she's been trying to sort of register everything that she wants to sell, right down to sort of whisks and spoons and cutlery and so on and so forth. But there's no doubt about it, this great website that was going to make her a fortune is just not happening. It's not working. Never mind her copyright problems that she's got right now. I think it's a question of supply. It's a question of marketing. It's a question of sales. She hasn't got this business together properly. She didn't plan it properly. It is not in a proper state now. It is almost unique for a business to be launched and 6 months later not to be in business. So American Riviera Orchard may struggle to even ever start, as far as I can see.
Yeah, Kevin's like, it's not going to get off the ground. It's going. I mean, what I love on your show is sometimes you'll just say to me, Kinsey, what's the latest update? What's available on the website? Like with a little tinge of, cattiness, because we know the answer is nothing. Let's get into some of the boring technical stuff, though. Mm-hmm. She's been given 3 months to respond to the non-final officer action issued by the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Failure to do so could result in her application being abandoned. So as you just pointed out, I'm looking forward to the launch of American Riviera Orchard in 2029. And despite reporting otherwise, through People magazine initially, I believe, Meghan must pay another $700 after failing to pay the correct fee initially. People had reported recently that she was all caught up financially in chasing these trademarks. Another reason why there was a failed bid is this requirement to amend the identification of goods, a multiple class application requirement, and a requirement to disclaim Riviera's description or descriptive wording. Anyone applying for a U.S. trademark runs the risk of refusal because the mark is geographically descriptive and could prevent others from being able to describe their products. I heard a lawyer saying this, like Riviera, American Riviera Orchard. She said, first of all, it's a mouthful. Then Riviera, I mean, a lot of people identify their location as Riviera, so that she's going to come up against that. But like you said, whisks, pots and pans, you know, blatant, the vague term cooking utensils. Jeff Bezos must be shaking in his boots. Like, I've always wanted a Duchess of Sussex soap dispenser to wash away my sins. That's a long list of like random items. Don't you think she's taken on too much?
I do believe that she has, and you have to think, well, why didn't she think of this before? Why is this cropping up 6 months in? This business was not planned. And as you imply there, Kinsey, what Meghan's trying to do is she's trying to run before she can walk. So she's trying to launch American Riviera Orchard as if it's Amazon, a massive company. You can get everything here. Here, thousands and thousands of things are for sale. Look at the Kardashians, the way they sell things. They sell small and fast. They just put a little item on sale and it's sold out very quickly. And if it sells out, they put it on again. They're very astute like that. Meghan doesn't seem to have learnt from the Kardashians, and therefore this business is not in business. It's extraordinary, and it's typical of Meghan, isn't it? She's a flippity gibbet. She starts something, then she forgets it. So she launched this website. It clearly wasn't ready to be launched, and yet she insisted on doing it. Then what was it? A month later, she sends a few pots of jam to her best friends, 50 of her influencer friends, most of whom just chucked it in the bin. Then she sent out some plant-based dog biscuits or something. I mean, what on earth does she think she's playing at? This business is not in business.
Kev, you sent me a great story this morning. Vanity Fair's Tina Brown kind of going off on Harry and Meghan. I want just your general reaction to it, but then do you mind if I read you some portions and then get your reaction to specific quotes?
Yeah, why don't you do that? I have a lot of feelings about this story. Well, you read some of the quotes. They're great.
Perfect. All right. So famed former Vanity Fair and New Yorker editor Tina Brown is making her own headlines this week by saying Meghan Markle's ideas are total crap and calling Prince Harry naive. Brown, also a royal biographer and author of the Palace Papers, previously said that Princess Diana would have been very protective of Harry and anxious about the direction he and Meghan have taken. This is an educated observation, as Tina was friends with Princess Diana. In fact, Brown and Diana had lunch together in New York in July of 1997, just a month before Diana's death. And Brown insists that Diana was never anti-monarchy and that the princess would not have been a fan of Meghan Markle. Now, Kevin, I haven't jumped into the quotes yet, but do you agree with Tina Brown that Diana would have not been a fan of Meghan Markle?
100%, because Meghan Markle is bad for Diana's son. Diana wasn't intellectually brilliant, but she was emotionally brilliant. She would have known that this relationship that he finds himself in is not good for him. It's quite clear. And Tina Brown's comments, I hate to admit this, because I think I'm the master of brilliant phrases, but she has absolutely nailed it, summed up exactly what's wrong with Meghan. And you know what I've been saying? Meghan's no genius. Everybody sort of says, oh, Meghan's the clever one in the relationship. Well, that's not saying much, because Harry isn't exactly Albert Einstein, is he? I think Meghan isn't very bright. She's just a bit brighter than Harry, and she is leading them both down a disastrous path. Do you want to get to some of Tina Brown's quotes?
Yeah, I mean, and you're right, because she also says that Diana would have been thrilled for Harry, that he was happy, but would have felt like Meghan was steering Harry in the wrong direction, a direction that was not good for him. And we should say that she's promoting her new Substack, Fresh Hell. Otherwise, we wouldn't have got these brilliant
Yeah,
comments for
yeah.
her. But she said, of Prince Harry's exile in England, they're going to constantly make a career out of trashing Harry.
Yeah.
But actually, the thing about Harry is he's very good at being Prince Harry. And that's the tragedy of all of this, is that he is the most talented member of the royal family, without a doubt, in terms of being a prince, which is all he does know how to do. Something else you've said. He's really sort of flawless at it. So your reaction to the fact that he's the most talented royal, some might argue Princess Anne is. I mean, she's the only one that actually clocks in.
Well, I'll tell you what, while he was a frontline royal, while he was the Prince Harry that we used to know and love, what he was good at, like his mum, he was excellent at connecting with people. So when he went on a royal visit, a royal trip, an appearance, he really would take the time to talk to people and laugh. And, there was nothing formal about him. Or there is nothing formal about him, and that was his skill. So, in a way, I mean, he was very good at that. To say he was the most brilliant royal is not true. I mean, if you want to do an intellectual league table of the members of the British royal family, and none of them are geniuses, trust me, William is the cleverest. And I think Princess Anne's pretty smart. Charles likes to think he's very clever, but he isn't particularly. I mean, they never were an intellectually gifted family. But then you have but some of them, like the Queen, when I say she wasn't intellectual, but she was very intelligent. She completely understood what her role was. She completely understood what the royal family was. And she conducted her reign impeccably because she understood those things. And she had a wisdom about her. She knew so many prime ministers, going back to Winston Churchill, for God's sake, to just after the Second World War. And once a week in Britain, the Prime Minister meets the sovereign. So she knew so many prime ministers, and every single one of them, particularly latterly towards the end of her reign, would ask for her advice because she'd seen so much. She'd spoken so often to Britain's leaders, and so she knew where it was at. So she was very intelligent.
So basically what you're saying is Meghan missed a huge opportunity. Like, imagine what she could have learned by engaging more with Queen Elizabeth and by spending more time with her and not rejecting her last invitation to meet with her days before her death. Tina also says, and again, like to your point, I've heard you say things very similar. She says of Meghan with Harry, I think he's pretty much in the thrall of Meghan. Yeah. The trouble with Meghan is that she has the worst judgment of anyone in the entire world.
I love
she
that
says
phrase.
Exactly. And she's a perfectionist about getting it all wrong. We know Meghan is a control freak, so that is a very important line. She's a perfectionist about getting it all wrong. Her issue is that she doesn't listen. She has all these people, asks them their opinion, and then doesn't follow it. She does what she wants to do, and all of her ideas are total crap, unfortunately.
Which is what Tina Brown said. She says that, her exact phrase was that Meghan is flawless at getting it all wrong. And as you say, she goes on to say, and this is what I mean about, I wish I'd have come up with these phrases. And by the way, I am going to steal them. As you say, she also says she has the worst judgment of anyone in the entire world, which is true. Yeah, and that's why I think, as I say, we've all sort of chugged along on this sort of assumption that Meghan is the clever one. Meghan's very clever, very intelligent. I don't think she is. If she had even a modicum of wisdom about her, she wouldn't have behaved in the way she would. As you said, she would have listened to the Queen more. Megxit, Tina Brown, who does very much know many people within royal circles, she said, interestingly, that at the palace, they always expected Harry to leave at some time because he was so unhappy being constrained by royal life. But there was a way of doing it, and Meghan got him to do it all wrong. And that's why Tina Brown said that Megxit was an absolute disaster. So she also says that Harry has been led along like a child. And that is
Yeah.
about the size of it, that he is like a lapdog. What next? What should we do now? Oh, yes,
But
Meghan,
but
let's, you know, and so
But
on and
she
so
also
forth.
says he's really unschooled in the ways of the world. So what is the alternative? If you're unschooled in the ways of the world, I mean, she talks about how this man's never booked a table at a restaurant
Yeah.
before. And you know, she called him a lamb to the slaughter
Yeah.
when it comes to Meghan Markle. He was terribly impressed with her. He thought she knew it all. She persuaded him that she was the savvy Hollywood wheeler dealer who could come in and make them stars and all the rest of it. And he just blindly followed her like a child. Just to end these quotes, she said about their future, and this is a conversation you and I had recently, like, where do they go from here? I mean, we're at a loss. She says, unfortunately, Meghan's made every mistake in the book, and she's kind of run out of road. I don't know where Meghan goes. Harry could still, as I say, make a comeback. He'll always be Prince Harry. He'll always be the grandson of the Queen and the son of Diana. I think you kind of have mixed feelings about that. I think you've told me I don't know if I could take him back here. What is your opinion today on that?
Well, I mean, you know, frankly, you know, like many Brits, I'm not going to forgive him for his behaviour, even if, you know, he's a 40-year-old man. He's an adult. So the bottom line is he shouldn't have been led astray. He should have known his own mind, but he was led astray, and he's made some terrible mistakes. He's insulted all of Britain, not to mention his own family, calling his own family racists. Absolutely disgraceful, utterly unforgivable. So as far as I'm concerned, he can stay where he is. You lot in America can have him, but I reckon in the future we will have to have him back, because he's going to come back with his tail between his legs. I'm not excited about that prospect because I'm worried about his kids. You know, I never want to see a marriage break up, but it is going to break up. There's no doubt in my mind whatsoever. So in the future, he will come back, and I think slowly but surely he will rebuild his relationship with the British people, because despite all his mistakes, despite his stupidity, despite his spitefulness sometimes, his immaturity, in the end, if you get with him, I mean, I've never met him, but if you do meet him, he's clearly a likable guy. And so I think he can, at least if he comes back, he can go to some way towards repairing the damage he's done, and he'll look back on the day that he hightailed it out of Britain with Meghan as the greatest mistake of his life. And as for her, what does she think she's playing at? What on earth has she done? What is she doing? You and I, Kinsey, every week we discuss this. What are those two up to? What is Meghan doing? What is Harry doing? And what do we draw a blank every week? This is her fault. She has led him into a kind of nothingness and oblivion.
Kevin, I know you can't wait to watch A Very Royal Scandal.
I certainly can't. And we're told, incredibly, that Prince Andrew is very excited about it, and he's looking forward to seeing it. And he's organised a sort of screening party for friends. I mean, this guy just doesn't learn, does he? I mean, you remember the film, Scoop, didn't show him in a very good light. This is a TV series about the same subject. Of course, his notorious interview with Emily Maitlis on Newsnight over here in Britain that completely ruined his life. And he still doesn't quite get it. He still thinks this could show him in a good light. Andy, if you're watching, it just won't. So I fear that the not-so-grand old Duke of York is in for a big disappointment.
Now, can you explain this to me? Because this happened in November, or yeah, I believe it was in November of 2019. I'm in the States, so I got bits and pieces. I didn't get to sit down with the world or with your country and kind of watch it in real time. When you woke up the next day, first of all, did you watch it live? And second of all, when you woke up the next day, what was the general response to Prince Andrew's interview with Newsnight?
Well, I did watch it live. I mean, over here, and probably in America as well, but certainly over here, there was the whole nation was in a state of sort of thrilled anticipation about this upcoming interview. And, you know, we figured, you know, he'd be very drilled, he'd be rehearsed, and would probably do quite a reasonable job of defending himself, of trying to explain, to clear some of the muddy waters about it. And then I watched it with my wife, and just like by minute by minute by minute, my jaw, dropped more and more open until by the end of the interview, my jaw was almost literally on the floor. I mean, the whole nation going, what is this idiot doing? I mean, the thing is, you know, Prince Andrew is so thick, he's so dumb, he's barely house-trained, and you can't let him out alone. So the palace made the massive mistake of letting him sort his own mess out. And, of course, the result now is notorious, absolute disaster. He did not, in that interview, what was it, 30, 40 minutes, he did not put a foot right at any point. You know, it was 40 minutes of catastrophe. Only he could do that. He has a special talent for screwing everything up. And that was the epicenter of his worst screw-up ever. Unbelievable.
Yeah, car crash television. We've spoken about this a little bit, but I'm very excited about it. It's coming out in 2 days now, A Very Royal Scandal, and it's a 3-part docudrama. And it's described by The Express as demonstrating the power of journalism through a pivotal moment in British history. Michael Sheen's in it, who was also in The Queen. I typically like him, although he's kind of critical of the actual royal family. And then The Affair's Ruth Wilson. I love her in everything she does. But ahead of the release, Emily Maitlis was said to be stunned by something that someone connected to Prince Charles at the time, now King Charles, said to her. They pulled her aside 1 month after the interview aired, and they said that the king was not unhappy with the interview. And she said, the comment stunned me. The HRH was not unhappy with the interview. She said, the comment stunned me. I have returned to that one line so many times in my head, trying to fathom the meaning in the message. HRH was not unhappy with the interview. Kevin, what did that message mean when they said that to Emily Maitlis?
I think I can work it out. You have to remember that Scoop, the film version, starring Rufus Sewell, that was the story of the booker, the producer who set the whole interview up. Very nice girl called Sam McAllister. This new series, A Very Royal Scandal, is very much Emily Maitlis's story, the story of the woman who did the interview. So it's fascinating that she said this. Now, this is what I can pretty much tell you is a fact here, is the reason. So we're thinking over here, why on earth did the palace let this proven oaf, this idiot, go in front of a proper journalistic programme like Newsnight? Why did they let him do this? It's because I think that Charles wanted him to screw up. That the whole affair, the Virginia Giuffre affair, his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, which of course he so badly mishandled, he'd already landed the royal family in an absolute ocean of hell. He had brought disgrace upon the royal family. I think that the king wanted him to just go that extra mile to absolutely finally bury himself, so then the king would feel justified in taking the action he always wanted to take. And that was to cut Andrew out of the royal action. We don't want this oaf representing the royal family anymore. We don't want him touring the world representing us, because when he did, he just made a mess of everything every single time. You know, he has no diplomacy. Everybody was appalled by his behaviour. And, of course, the Epstein affair was already a huge embarrassment for the royal family. So the king not being unhappy with that interview, I think that the king wanted Andrew to screw up so that he could then start the wheels rolling to try and kick him out of the royal lodge, cut him out of the royal action, and just put him to the sidelines so he couldn't cause red faces for the royal family anymore. That would be my interpretation, and I think I'm on the money.
Hi, Kevin. We've had a wild week already, and it's just, I mean, it's like Wednesday.
An extraordinary week. Out of the blue yesterday, Monday, We suddenly got this completely unexpected video from Kate with her cancer update and a kind of rather moving film of her and William and the kids all frolicking in the countryside. Something slightly strange about it, but it was quite a moving film and certainly quite a development on the royal front. And then incredibly, as if by clockwork, just hours later, Harry effectively announces, hey, my polo series, it's coming out in December. I mean, you know, this may be Netflix, this may be unfortunate timing, just a coincidence, but given the track record of Harry and Meghan, you know, never allowing a royal announcement in Britain to happen without trying to crash in on the act, you can't help thinking that somehow or other Harry's people thought, right, let's not have Kate all the limelight. Unbelievable, unbelievable.
You know, I mean, I do think it was a coincidence because I looked at the breakdown on Twitter, and it just seemed like it was a vomit of what things were coming up in the next few months on their Twitter feed. However, we know that these people at Netflix are paid a lot of money, whether it's a publicist, whether it's the marketing department, whether it's the social media manager. These people are paid a lot of money to make Netflix look good. And it doesn't make Netflix look good to release this. It looks opportunistic to release this update hours after we received this surprise video, this beautiful video from the Princess of Wales. You know, and I imagine that Harry and Meghan are probably unhappy about that as well. But the tweet said, Polo is a new documentary series that follows elite global players and offers an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at the fast-paced world of the sport. From Archwell Productions and Boardwalk Pictures, premiering this December. Thanks, ChatGPT, for the beautiful description. I also imagine, just looking at the date, December, that this will premiere. It'll drop around the same time of Catherine's Christmas Carol concert. What do you think the odds are there that that's when we'll get the polo show, right? When Catherine is, you know, coming in with the Christmas spirit.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of this alleged coincidence with the announcement of the Netflix series Polo, just after Kate released her moving cancer video, I mean, perhaps it was an unfortunate coincidence, but, you know, and maybe Harry might see that it wasn't the greatest timing. No matter what the reason was, the timing was not good. I can't help feeling that Meghan probably would have quite liked it. I mean, she can't stand anything to happen in Britain with the royal family, as I say, without crashing in on the act going, what about me? I just made a great speech at Oprah's book club. Great. I mean, there's only about one thing in the world that I can think of as more boring than Oprah Winfrey's Montecito book club, and that's Harry's series on polo come Christmas, which will come out in December. As I've said to you before, Kinsey, over in your fine country in America, you have baseball, and you have your football, American football, and you have ice hockey. Those are your sports, and they're great sports. Over here, we have our football, soccer. We have cricket. And basically, that's it. These are the sports. Guess what? Nobody gives a rat's backside about polo. And this is just a posh boy, Harry, going round talking to his posh friends about this awful sport, which is really boring to watch. I've told you before, I've seen it quite a few times when I was a young reporter. We used to have to get sent to the polo pitches in Britain, a place called Cowdray Park down near the south coast, when then Prince Charles used to play. And we used to have to go down there and see if he was hooking up with any girlfriends and that kind of thing. So I've seen a lot of polo. And I'm here to tell you, it is the most boring sport you'll ever watch in your life. I'm sure it's great fun to take part in, but as a spectator sport, doesn't even start. There is no interest in it, and the idea that somehow or other this will be a smash hit for Netflix at Christmas, you can forget about that. And we already understand that, having seen the rushes, having seen the results of Harry's filming on Polo so far, Netflix executives have opined that this series is, and I quote, not expected to connect. The translation for that is, it's a flop, it's a dud. So it really won't work out for Harry, I don't think.
Is brand Sussex completely unmanageable right now?
Well, you're right. Every day in every way, we get a new story about the gruesome twosome. And I think that this kind of avalanche of new information about them is revolving around the fact that their Hollywood project, their showbiz project, you know, their ambitions to be the power couple that changed the world, all of those things are unraveling fast. It is clear to everyone that Hollywood is a no-go area for them now. Their showbiz ambitions are dead. You know, even Netflix are saying, well, we've seen Harry's Polo documentary, and frankly, I think the official word is we're disappointed. So these people, Harry and Meghan, are falling apart at the seams in terms of their original ambition, which was to become incredibly successful in Hollywood, making their own programs. Well, the narrative that you and I tend to talk about, that royal commentators tend to talk about, is this. Well, you know, it was always a foreign world to Harry. He just doesn't understand Tinseltown. Why would he? He's a British royal and it's a new world. So, you know, you can never expect him to particularly comprehend the world he found himself in. So his contribution was always going to be, shall we say, minimal. He certainly has been minimal, to say the least. It's been virtually non-existent. But the narrative also involves, but Meghan, you know, Meghan, now she's an actress. She knows Hollywood like the back of her hand. She's really good at this stuff. Well, here's the thing. I don't think she is. I mean, she's a reasonably inexperienced actress who used to be a game show hostess, you know, who's acting like she's some sort of studio chief or something. I don't think she really does understand.
When you said that to me yesterday on your show, I bit my tongue. And since we're on YouTube, I'm going to say it, okay? When you said to me yesterday something about Meghan really felt like she was capable of creating this empire in the entertainment world. And you were saying, really, what does she have to back that up on her resume? All I could think about was the 90210 pilot. And I don't know if you're familiar with this. But if you have a higher aspirations, you think you're going to be a big star, are you really going to take the role of girl giving fellatio in the pilot of the new Beverly Hills 90210, which is exactly what Meghan Markle did? When you said something similar to me yesterday about, well, Meghan had these big plans, she has this, she is the one that really felt like she could accomplish all this. All I could think about was, then she made a couple of missteps. And I'd start with the new Beverly Hills 90210, because that is the stuff that went back to bite her in the butt the second she showed up on the arm of a British prince.
See, what I think about Meghan, what differentiates her from most of the wannabe actresses and actors in Hollywood, is that she has got, I mean, they're all ambitious, but she has a fierce ambition, and it's all about her. And she is something of a driving force of nature, I think, driving things forward. Once she gets there, it tends to fall apart at the seams because she doesn't understand what to do. And her idea that she the other narrative about those two is he's really thick, dim, dumb, not intellectually gifted, which I think is pretty accurate. But she is a very clever woman, very clever. Really? I don't think she is that clever. She's cleverer than him, but I don't think she's very bright. She's failed to understand or learn anything about Hollywood. And therefore, their ambitions, everything about her, everything they set out to do has turned into a heap of dust. and it's because he doesn't understand at all what he's doing, and she's not very good at what they're doing. They need some help, but I think it's probably too late now. I think they need to find something else to do because Hollywood is a closed book to them now.
You called it pretty early on, this professional divorce, and it kind of seems like Harry and Meghan have acknowledged it in a statement they released talking about the prince taking center stage in Vancouver. What is your, instinct here? Are Harry and Meghan, is this a successful pursuit that you're saying professionally?
What I find strange, Kinsey, and you and I have talked about this, is how much at least Harry seems to be relishing and enjoying going places without his wife. Now, look at the contrast. There is Harry over the weekend up in Vancouver promoting Invictus Games, good for him. Why couldn't he take Meghan along? Maybe even the kids as well. Instead, she's down at Venice Beach in LA, sort of partying with a few of her friends, celebrating a new hair product, hippie hair or something. Now, this is like pointed separateness. Do you see what I mean? Now, we know that image makers have said to Harry, at least, maybe, it's better off when you're alone. When you go places with Meghan, she's a bit toxic and it's not very good for your image. So, as we've discussed before, he's been going for more and more private, personal, solo appearances. And now it's sort of reached a tipping point now. This weekend I thought, what the hell is going on? Are these two people ever going to appear together again? Now we know that Meghan in particular is kind of worried about these increasing rumours about a potential split, that the marriage is in trouble. Now, if it's not in trouble, surely she would say to him, Harry, we need to go out. We need to be seen in public. Go to a restaurant. Go to bloody Vancouver if you like. Go to the Venice Beach disco together. Be photographed. That would kill a million rumours, and yet it doesn't happen. The only conclusion that you can begin to reach is there is something going wrong here, that maybe Harry doesn't want to be seen with his wife. Maybe she doesn't want to be seen with him. But it does strike me that these solo appearances have reached a kind of crisis point. Something is going on here.
I love the way that you give Meghan Markle a Dick Tracy voice. You're like, Harry, you see?
Harry,
it's very nice.
Harry.
All right, well,
we gotta be seen in public again.
On Monday, Prince Harry spoke with students and played sitting volleyball with them at Seaforth Armory, a historic military facility where he launched an online program to introduce the Invictus Games into schools. And a lot of the commentary from Harry fans, obviously, were, the public's prince, the people's prince. Very much comparing him to Princess Diana. How intentional do you think that is? Because when I see Prince Harry getting on kids' levels and engaging, I certainly am reminded of his mom. And I wonder if the handlers that we talk about, who are probably no better than the men in gray suits that Harry and Meghan initially complained about at the palace, I imagine that is on their agenda. Everyone loves Princess Diana, so how can we make Prince Harry look as much like Princess Diana as possible?
That's exactly it. I mean, to be fair to him, he loves his mother, or he loves the memory of his mother, was very close to her. But image-wise, he loves to be associated with her because her golden stardust rubs off on anyone who can cash in on the Diana legend, including her youngest son. That said, there's no doubt about that. Whenever he can use his mother's name to improve his own image, Harry does it. He does it like mad. However, I don't want to sound unkind, but his obsession with his mother at the age of 40, I find increasingly strange. Of course we still sympathise with him. The little boy who lost his beloved mother, the little boy who had to walk behind the coffin with William. Everybody regrets that, particularly the royal family. Of course we feel sympathy for him, but Harry, really, get over it. You're 40 years old. You know, this is 30 years ago. So I find his obsession with his mother slightly creepy. I'm going to be honest here. But that said, I don't want to decry his love for his mother or the memory of his mother. We all have a lovely memory of his mother. But Harry, away from his personal relationship with her, uses his mother's image professionally like mad.
Yeah, I think we should be like a little gentle when it comes to her passing. But, and I think I would have completely disagreed with you two years ago or 3 years ago. But writing in spare about keeping a piece of her hair next to the bed while they were conceiving their children, or, you know, writing in spare about him feeling her presence in the room while putting Elizabeth Arden cream, you know where. I mean, that is where he lost me when it comes to the memory of Princess Diana. That is, and you even saw Jimmy Kimmel destroy him over here in the United States after Spare came out. He wrote an entire fake children's book around that one part of the book about putting Elizabeth Arden cream, you know where. So I do sit back sometimes and wonder if he regrets some of these admissions. Like, why go there? None of us were looking for that. None of us were seeking that type of information.
Yeah. But if you were in that rather strange situation, you know, you've got frostbite on your manhood and you're putting some cream on it. Can't believe this conversation. You've just reminded me, by the way, of that memory. I tried to expunge it from my mind, but it's coming back to me in waves of horror. But if, you know, you were in the bathroom, you're some guy, you've got frostbite in your manhood, and you're putting some cream on it. Now, if that was me, I can't imagine me being in that situation, but if I was, let me tell you, the last person I would be thinking of, the last person I would be evoking in my mind would be my mother. That is flat out, you know, seriously 100 tons weird. It really is.
I really quickly, I did want to say, you know, the Sun noted that the appearances back to back, these Harry and Meghan appearances, would only fuel rumors that Meghan and Harry were drifting apart. But then a source told Hello Magazine together they have exciting projects in the pipeline, all driving forward their shared mission for positive global impact. How does polo have anything to do with a positive global impact, Kevin? I mean, that just felt like some serious spin doctoring to me.
I love the way that they describe their lives as a serious mission, you know, impacting global connectivity and all this kind of stuff. I mean, they're just hanging out in Santa Barbara, taking the dog for a walk, going down the beach. She's going to a disco in Venice. He's up in Vancouver. How is this impacting the world? They have such a grandiose, or rather, she has an incredibly grandiose idea of her life. And as Harry reaches out back across the Atlantic more and more and more towards Britain and maybe even Portugal, where they bought a home, and he fears he might have to go and live there permanently if Donald Trump kicks him out of the country. But as he reaches back towards his family more and more and more, wanting to come back here, wanting to be re-embraced by the love of the British people. He won't be. He used to have that, but he won't get that again. But he wants it. So he's making moves. He's talking to people. Can I come back? Can I do some duties? Now, I don't think that would ever happen. I think William would say no. I think Charles would be very cautious about it. However, the real spanner in the works now is that apparently Meghan has said, you go back to Britain, you do some kind of peace deal with your family, I'm in it. I am part of the deal. Now, as far as the British royal family are concerned, if Harry, rapprochement with Harry, involves Meghan, that's a deal breaker. It won't happen. I don't think they ever want to see her in the same postcode as them. They really don't. They believe she's the one who's dragged him away from them, which frankly she has. Again, I don't know what's going on in that relationship, but I sense it's quite a lot, and I sense that a lot of that is not good.